Good afternoon everyone, and thank you very much for joining us. I'm Emily Priest and I'm here with my colleague Adrian Lowe, and welcome to today's webinar introducing product data management. Today we'll be looking at how companies can make their data management smarter and more effective. The aim of the session is to give you an introduction into why companies choose a data management solution, along with a quick look at some of the capabilities within the PTC solution Windchill. The webinar is being recorded and a link will be sent out to you later on this week. The session will last for around 40 to 45 minutes. I will now hand over to Adrian, who will be taking you through the presentation.
Good afternoon everybody. Thank you for your attendance today. Thank you to Emily for the introductions and for organising today's webinar. As Emily said, my name is Adrian Lowe and I'm going to present to you today a introduction to product data management. So before we actually start the presentation, a brief explanation as to what we are hoping you will get out of today. So we want you to go away today with an understanding of why, as a company, you should consider product data management to get your engineering documentation, your CAD design files, and your related bill of materials under control, and then to explain to you what we as concurrent engineering can do to assist you in adopting PDM and supporting any business initiatives you might have. So the agenda for today is fairly simple. Why do people need PDM? Where do they start from? What should the goal be? And we work with the Windchill PDM system, and we're going to give you a look and feel of what that is, and then we're going to tell you what the positive outcomes could be from adopting PDM and look at what the next steps might be for you. So why would you need PDM? Not a great in-depth list of reasons here, but just a small subset of very, in some instances may feel like minor tasks, but these are challenges that will impact many businesses on a daily basis, and the impact, although it may seem small, because it's happening many times a day, a week, whatever, become noticeable to the business. And this is just a small subset of challenges that we and PTC, the Windchill software developers, have identified with their clients over time. And if we just pick on one or two of those, then multiple silos of information. Many businesses will have data stored on several storage locations around the business with no consistency to join them together, and it just becomes confusing to the users. Because it is just a dumb file set on a file system, there's no traceability of what's happened to that file over time. If you're in a business that gets audited, then setting up for an audit can be a costly expense. And bills and materials are typically developed in multiple formats by multiple parts of the business. So spares will have one BOM, purchasing another, manufacturing another, and engineering the original, and not necessarily all joined up. So many points here. I'm not going to cover them all, but I'd really like you to take a moment just to scan through that subset of potential challenges, because these are the more regular ones we come across, and I suspect most of you listening in will have experienced or will be experiencing one or more of those issues in your current working environment. So that, in a nutshell, people will adopt PDM to address challenges they're experiencing in data management. So in order to make a journey to adoption of PDM, we have to understand where we're starting from. So most businesses that have yet to adopt PDM or an equivalent PLM system are managing their files on a number of file systems now, comprising one or more servers, users with individual laptops or desk towers on their desks with their own independent disk drives. And when these people are working on a day-to-day basis, different departments may have their own business rules. It may be a free-for-all on individual users, but typically they'll have a set folder structure somewhere in the system where their data gets stored. Now, when that data needs to be shared around the business, which is pretty much inevitable, normally this is done by making manual copies, disk to disk, emailing copies of files around the business, or it may even come down to, if you're dealing with a supplier that doesn't have direct access to your network or the same systems as you, you're sending out paper copy. So we have disjoints in the system as well as these multiple silos of data sitting around. So what is the goal of PDM? So the ultimate goal of a PDM system is to give you a single point of reference for your digital product definition. So all of your defining data for your product in one central point of truth. And once you have all of your data in this single system, then we can start to talk about PDM getting your revision management under control, managing the access of people within the business to the right data at the right time, managing the release of data. So as something is developed through its work in progress, goes to prototype, goes out to manufacture, and that release procedure becomes more controllable, more repeatable with PDM. And ultimately, release of data may, or almost inevitably, leads to requirement to change. So your PDM system should be providing facilities for you to change, manage your design data as well. The fact that we're getting this level of control over our data means that we can actually record the history of our data as it changes over time. So we're getting improved traceability, who did what, to what, and when, and why, which ultimately simplifies audits if you're in a business that does require it. The real power of PDM comes in managing your CAD data. Now, CAD data, be it mechanical, electrical, Creo, Inventor, SolidWorks, AutoCAD, NX, OrCAD, or others in the electrical area. Typically, this data comprises of a number of related files with complex relationships between those files, which once you've saved this to a dumb file system, is only interpretable by the CAD system typically. So we want our PDM system to be able to interpret the CAD data structure, the relationships between these files, so it manages them correctly, and so that it releases the power that is delivered by those relationships to the rest of the business. And ultimately, we need our PDM system to be managing all of the product-related files. And this is important because there are some statistics bounced about, but typically the drawing of a component or an assembly, which most businesses will deem as the master for their design, cannot exist in any business with maybe 20 other documents existing also. So for your document or your design drawing to exist for your component, you have to have something that defines what the material is it's made of. What are the standards it's manufactured to? What's the technical specification? What are the requirements? So there are many, many supporting documents for each of your physical designs. So we're getting all this data under control in PDM. It improves the visibility of that data around the business because it's in one location, everyone has access, it's controlled, it's consistent, it can be searched and reported on. And also, having everything in one system with one set of rules promotes consistent working practices because the system will automate some of the drudgery that people dislike, will avoid doing. And because we're getting consistent data, consistent working practices, knowing there is only one copy and it's in the PDM system improves people's data confidence over and above that which you would have on a file system, where you may find a file and then find another one elsewhere and not know which one is the master, which one should I be working to. So data confidence is very important. So let's think about how the product we work with, Windchill PDM, can address these issues. Now here, the diagram we're looking at, we know within business there is a very distinct divide between the physical product and the digital product. So over on the right here, we're seeing our MRP, ERP systems. So most businesses have had these systems established for many years to manage production of the physical products, supply, resourcing, etc. That's all very well tied down by a system that is typically focused on those capabilities. What we are interested in is the digital product. So the digital product definition is what PDM will look after, and it is the lifeblood of your ERP, MRP system, because you have to be able to define your product properly in order to manufacture it. And the more effectively you do it, the better you're going to perform as a business. So day one, Windchill gets all of your departments working, business partners working in one common storage location. Because we're getting all this documentation and design data pushed into one controlled storage location, we have the ability to apply secure access to any of our data based on business function, what state the file is in at the moment. If you've got something that's work in progress, you probably don't want the salespeople seeing it and mistakenly selling it before you've completed the design, or misinterpreting it, or cutting metal to it if they're on the shop floor. No, they get to see the released files. And also, having that data in a controlled environment means the environment that we're managing in, PDM, manages the revisions of those files. So it does the automated uprev on request of the appropriate user. And it maintains a history of those revisions, so at some point, if we need to, we can actually go and compare revisions of documents, CAD designs, etc., to see what's changed. Or indeed, what did we ship on this date? So also, as I was saying, we have the ability in PDM to manage bills of material, information structures, which typically is the realm of ERP, MRP. But many businesses, in fact, nearly all businesses, the BOM exists before we're ready to go to manufacture. So our PDM system becomes the authoring tool for our BOMs. Now, these could be configured, edited, created manually, but typically businesses will use the intelligence of the CAD assembly structure. So as the designer builds the CAD assembly, the PDM system knows the logic within the CAD file, be it SolidWorks, Creo, Autodesk, whatever, and can interpret that to give the first pass at the engineering BOM, which can subsequently be edited to put into that items that might not be models, such as it has to go on a packing crate, it has to be painted a certain color using a certain type of paint. So we can start to manipulate the BOM right here in the PDM system. We also make that more powerful because as the documentation is being recorded in the same location, we have the ability to reference the documentation to the part it's supporting or defining. And once we have our BOM defined, managed in Windchill, then we can start to report on those BOMs. And typically the report will be focused on the individual, the function of the individual that's running the report. So we've got one master BOM sitting at the center of the system, but depending on whether you're coming in from purchasing, engineering, production, whatever, you'll actually see the right structured BOM for your purpose. And also, because we've got this logic in a controlled central system, we can start to talk about exporting that BOM structure into your ERP or MRP system, be it by a manual pass over of an intelligent file or a direct link, depending on what's the right solution for your business. But also, in a world as it is at the moment, many businesses go outside of their own organization for assistance, be it collaborative design, supply, manufacture. And you're typically having to send some of your documents, issue your IP to third parties. And as we've mentioned in an earlier thing, once it's in an email, it's a copy, it's unmanaged, and it's very easy to lose track of. So in the Windchill PDM system, we have the ability to identify recipients of data. You then create a package of drawings, documents, combinations thereof, and issue it to that supplier, collaborative, design house, whatever, in the appropriate format for them, and it gets recorded in the system which files have gone to the supplier, at what time, what rev, etc. So when you run a change in your PDM system and it impacts one of the files that have gone out to that supplier, then we're going to be able to flag the fact that this supplier needs a new copy potentially because he's got out-of-date data. But overlying all of this management of data, we have a set of configuration capabilities within our Windchill PDM system. So we have a built-in workflow engine. So the automated review, release, change, problem capture of our data, our files that are managed within PDM, can be controlled via workflows that are they're there out of the box, but you can right size them, adapt them to match your business working practice. And typically those workflows are manipulating the managed files, which will have a life cycle. So the system understands that your data matures over time. It will start as work in progress. It goes through a review and a prototype phase, and then it gets issued for manufacture. And then you might up-rev that to do a mod, and you might have to go through a release process after a change, etc. So it understands the logic of this, and it's configurable to right size it to your business. The other powerful tools are in there, which we'll come on to slightly later. I know the visualization and markup. Because Windchill PDM understands the CAD format, and the other factor is CAD applications are too expensive to give to everyone in the business. If you want to give people visibility of your CAD designs, your drawings, the 3D models, then you've got to think of a way of doing it, and Windchill PDM provides this publishing capability. So as your CAD designs are uploaded onto the Windchill PDM system, it's producing lightweight viewables that users can bring up in a viewer, manipulate, view, etc. to the limits of their access control. And instead of walking paper around the business to mark up when a drawing is being approved, you actually just get people to come into the Windchill PDM system, view the drawing on a screen and mark it up right there on a screen and save their redlining back into the system alongside the original drawing. And also the system hooks into your emails, your email systems. So it uses your mail server to notify people when they've got tasks to perform, when there's a new part being released and you need to know about it. So you can start notifying people in a timely, controlled fashion. And as I say, the system comes with a whole bunch of these standard processes which you can pick up and use as is, or adapt to your own requirements, or indeed completely replace. So let's have a think about that. We've said I've been talking about Windchill, and probably none of you guys or any of you have seen this before. So we'll just have a brief demo in the short time we've got about the Windchill PDM system, what it looks like. So first off, we'll just drop into a CAD application here. Now, I happen to be sitting in Creo Parametric, PTC's CAD application, because it's the one I have easiest access to. But equally well, the interface of Windchill, which is this box in the middle here, which we'll talk about shortly, this could be the same interface, or will be the same interface, whether you happen to be working in SolidWorks, CATIA, NX, NG, or one of the electrical, or sorry, NX or one of the electrical applications. So it's consistent interface across the business. So right now I'm sitting in Windchill, I'm looking at my workspace. Now, terminology workspace is just a way of saying this user has some files ring-fenced which they're looking at locally on their machine, potentially modifying. So this is significant because if I look, got my list of files with their revs, dates modified, etc. So all very useful information available. But the real power comes in the status flags over the side here. So if I look and there's, no, I've got some files that are checked out by me. Now checked out means I have declared to the world via my Windchill PDM system that I have intentions, or I am modifying this file. So the system gives me a workable copy to manipulate, and it locks the server-side version. So other people can still see that file. They can utilize it in their own designs, but they can't modify it at the same time as me. But they will be seeing a message at the other end, much like this one, where I know that one of the files that I have in my localized workspace viewing is actually being modified by another user who happens to be generically called Designer 2 in this instance. This is a demo system. So we're getting feedback on what other people are doing. We're also getting feedback on what I'm doing. So I've got a lot of files in here and I want to know what's happening. It's telling me I've got a modified file here, and that mod hasn't been uploaded to the server. So if I want this to be a safe copy tonight by end of play, I need to push it back to the server at some point, which is done straight from all the tools sitting right here, which are intelligent enough to know the status of the file, therefore what tools do I want. And if I wanted to open a file, modify a file, it is literally straight in here. I just open it and check out everything. So let's just say I want to do a mod on this. So activate my model and just go and say, okay, I want to put a gem on there. So instantly, when I want to modify a file, the system knows I have to notify the Windchill system that I'm going to do so. So right here, interacting in the CAD system now, I can say, okay, I'm going to put a checkout flag on this now. I'm going to take ownership of it to mod. Or no, this is a stage where, yeah, I could actually create the next revision now. So it will create, upgrade it from A to B, and I'll start working on B at work in progress, ready to push through the release process to go out. So, but I'm not going to get into a CAD demonstration at the moment, gentlemen. So that's the Windchill interface inside CAD, and I could equally well go and look at the server content as opposed to my own data and say, okay, these are the products I have access to work on. So I can go and get data from the server if I wish, but no. So if I now pop into the other working environment that most people will be using, which is Office. So we know there are other applications, and Windchill will manage anything that's a file, but Office is the most common one. So I'm in Word, and I have my ribbons across the top here, and because I'm working with Windchill in my environment, I have a Windchill tab. So right here, I have the tools that I am likely to want to use on a daily basis with my documents, technical specs, whatever they might be. So I can do a nut rev, I can check it out, check it in, etc. But I've got nothing on screen right now. So what I do is I want to actually go and open an existing document to work with. So I can go and open and browse, or typically I'll just say, okay, excuse me, I happen to know something about the design file I want to work on. So I happen to know I want to work on a user guide, and I know it's got guide in it somewhere. So if I just do a search, the system goes off and searches the server for anything I have access to that incorporates the word guide. Now, just so happens all these have the name in the word guide in the name. But the power of Windchill PDM link, or PDM, is that it's actually also searching the contents of all of these documents. So if I had a document that had a client name in it and I wanted to find anything about that client, then it would pick up the Word document in the Excel spreadsheet that had the document's name embedded inside it. So very, very powerful. So I happen to know I want to do some work on this 1000 series operator guide. So that's the one I want from my list. So I just say OK. And system downloads it, want to open it, work on it now, then yes. And again, just like in the CAD system, the system knows that I potentially want to modify this because I've opened it. So do I want to check it out and take it for unique ownership for me to mod while everyone else just reads it? Yeah, sure. So right in here, I can start making some alterations to my document. I'm not going to be too intelligent about this right now. And on my Windchill menus, I can now say, okay, I want to check that back into the server. Or I know I want to promote it. So I want to start a release process to get my new version of the document approved for issue. So giving me the right Windchill PDM tools in the interface where I work for my day-to-day tasks. Now, it may be some users want to do more powerful things with the system other than what's just available in their local interface. Or it may be people just want to go and interrogate the data and search for it. Now, the main interface into Windchill is via a web browser because Windchill is ultimately a web server. So just click on my saved link up here. I identify myself. Again, generic user has been a demonstration system. And give it a password. And the reason I identify myself, I tell them, if I could spell, I'd be dangerous. So I identify myself. So the system knows what access rights I have, what roles I have to perform in the system against whichever designs or projects I might be working on. And it does that by getting me to log in. So here I am logged in as Designer 1. And by default, I get taken to my home page. Now, every user has a home page that has information that's pertinent to them at this point in time. So right at the top here, I have a task list. Now, these are activities issued to me via a running workflow that says I have to be involved in a business process for certain things. Now, I've got these on my home page. They will also have been emailed to me with a hyperlink in my Outlook mail tool or whatever I might be using, so I can click and come back into Windchill straight to the activity. But the tasks I've got here, it's an approved promotion request. So basically, it looks like one of my peers has been doing some modeling on a part and wants me to approve it, check it for him before it gets pushed through for full approval, full review and release. Looks like a couple of people have found problems with some parts and they've reported problems. So I have a role that on certain products, I'm the problem report investigator. So I need to go and check these out and see what is the problem and is it something we have to deal with. And ultimately, then there's, as a result of an earlier problem report, there's a change notice task there. So basically, someone's raised a change notice and done an implementation plan with it, and I'm part of that implementation plan to go and perform a task. So if I just went into there, it will tell me what my task is, and I have to go and perform that task and tell the system when I'm done, potentially comment on it, etc. Also on here, I get a list of what files have I worked with recently, what work have I got checked out, because I don't want to leave work checked out if I go off on holiday, for instance. And I can always go and hunt down other data I've accessed recently from there. Equally, I could just go and browse around the system to find data if I wanted. So, I go and look into the folders relating to this product, and there's all my data stored there. I may not necessarily know where data is stored, and it's not necessarily the easiest way to find data. If I wanted to, let's go back to home. If I know I want to find something, so I know I have a tilt table in here, and I want to look at some components on it. So I just say, okay, search for tilt. And again, this is my fully pervasive search, going investigating all the files and attributes that relate to them. So it's come back, it's given me a list, and I've got a couple of different types here. I've got a CAD assembly, I've got a BOM component, so a part that's part of them, or a sub-assembly and a part sticking in here. I also get my Amazon and eBay style filter list down the bottom here, so I can actually say I actually want to look at parts. I don't want to look at the CAD files, or vice versa. I just want to look at CAD files. And you'll notice here, in my reported list of files, now I can start saying I want to sort on these columns, so it's all interactive and I can change the order. So it's all very flexible, very friendly to user. I can change what the columns are, etc. And I get these lightweight viewables there. So I get thumbnails, which I can, sorry, my PC catches up. I can have a look at these, see if it's what I think I'm supposed to be looking at. It also on the side here says, okay, well, this sub-assembly comprises of these components. Oh, and that component's actually used on 2 sub-assemblies. So I can start to very quickly get a very detailed picture in my mind of what I'm looking at right here. Let's go back to looking at my parts, because the other power we mentioned about managing bombs in Windchill. So if I go off and look at my sub-assembly here, I can ask the system to build me a structure report or a bill of materials, if you want, for this tilt frame. So I've got a bunch of components here. It's got the intelligence to round them up. I've got various other reports that I could run here, but I can get quite clever with the data that's stored against this, which again is all right-sizable through configuration to your business. But now, the real power of having the bill of materials inside our PDM system alongside all our data is most businesses work based on part numbers. So anything, any activity that wants to be performed is typically performed against a part number or description of a part. So if I can find the part in Windchill PDM, I can come in and say, okay, well, I can show all documents, etc., and say, okay, show all. So right here, I can see for my assembly, I've got CAD components defining each of the parts, but at the top level, I've got my assembly, CAD assembly defining, but I actually have a bunch of documentation that references back to this part as well. And I can go and get data about them right here. But also, we mentioned the lightweight thumbnails here, which are all well and nice, but no. The real power comes that I can actually assume I can prove who I am in this instance, because our security is set fairly high because it gets outside the business firewall. And we don't want to lose our IP. It will load it in our CreoView client viewer, where, again, it looks pretty much the same view to start with, but it actually has more detail to the point where now, instead of just spinning it around, if I make this available to my technical illustrators, for instance, they can actually start to pick this data up and manipulate it. So if my design engineers are spending hours every week preparing exploded views for my technical illustrators, then suddenly the guys can go off and prepare these images themselves. And they get stored straight back as annotation sets into the Windchill system beside the original data. And so again, they're finding their illustrations via the part number. Let's just put those back where they were. And you can do other powerful things. So if I'm investigating some data in here, it's okay, what's happening behind this component? So I can just say, okay, well, let's hide that. So what's really happening behind that component? So if this was an electrical assembly with an enclosure around a bunch of boards and wiring, I could just hide the enclosure and see what's inside. The other tools I have access to in here, you can start doing sectioning. So there's a section, and what does my design look like as I pan backwards and forwards through it. So again, it brings a lot of power for untrained users to identify what's happening with the components, the assemblies that they're working with. Also in here you can start doing things like if we're doing running an approval and review workflow to get something released or approved, drawings, they can start bringing up drawings and 3D models in here and annotating them, taking dimensions off of them, marking them up, and again saving them back into the system. So very, very briefly, hopefully we've shown you just how powerful getting all your data into Windchill PDM is, how much benefit it brings to the rest of the business, opening up the data to them. So let's just drop back into our presentation here. So just have a quick look at how we work with our CAD systems, how we interact with Office or indeed bar level or any other system. We've got the default web browser interface, and we can have lightweight, dedicated, big button interfaces for users just to say, go and get me a drawing, etc. And we have our bombs embedded in Windchill to bring the power of the part number to identify all the other data in the business, and visualization, because a picture paints 1,000 words. So we've talked about what ideally our PDM system should be doing, what it could look like with it being Windchill. So what would be the positive outcomes for us? So there's not one hard and fast positive outcome. It really depends on what process you're trying to improve in the business, what you're trying to achieve with your business initiatives, etc. So there are many, many metrics that we can call on, and we have libraries of them sat in the house, whereby, based on many surveys of clients who have implemented PDM, both in our own customer base and in that of our supplier and other suppliers, people have done just as we've talked of, identifying the way they work now and the way they want to improve, and they can measure those improvements. So if we can apply PDM to our environment, typically we're making it easier for people to find existing parts. So you avoid the proliferation of part numbers. It's not unusual to go into a business's MRP system and find multiple part numbers for what effectively is the same nut and bolt. But you have the business overhead of maintaining that inventory. So if you can get that inventory down by making people use existing parts more efficiently, then typically that's going to give you a 5 to 15% reduction in your inventory growth. Because you're being more controlled, you're going to get a reduction in design errors of maybe 10 to 25%. So there are a lot of metrics by which we can measure potential benefit to your business, the PDM, but it's finding the right ones for your business. So what would be the next steps? Because hopefully now you're seeing that PDMs are a worthwhile route to investigate. It can bring benefit to your business. It can make life less painful. So your next steps are, I've mentioned this briefly in one or two places, is to identify where you are now. Now, as a business, we have a working technique we use with many of our clients. We term maturity levels. So based on industry metrics and industry surveys, we've built up a number of maturity level sets of logic, whereby in this case we're looking at PDM maturity level at a high level. So we identify, okay, level 0 is where most of the clients start out from at some point in their life. So typically they'll be storing their CAD files on a file system, shared drives, and their documentation alongside it. Their change process will be based on paper or email issues, and they're sharing their design data and drawings attached to emails or via FTP sites typically. So that's your starting point, so it's level 0. If you're in a very highly automated, high-tech business, then and you're working with lots of external partners to both design and manufacture, you're probably going to be looking to be you're at a level 3. Now you're doing collaborative data management to have all of these extra capabilities. But day one, you want to identify where you are at this point in time. So you have to understand where you're starting from. And once you've understood where you're starting from, you need to look at the capabilities available in PDM, because we've really just touched on what's there today. And you need to identify where you want to be as a business. And the goal isn't just to be at level 3, because level 3 may deliver capabilities that really just don't bring benefit to your business, or certainly not enough benefit to justify spending money on them. So you look at what capabilities deliver best improvement in your business to get you to the place you want to be, and then you set your target, maybe level 2, extended data management. Once you've got your starting point in where we are and where you want to be, what we do is we identify which PDM elements do you need to adopt as a business in order to attain your goal. You then look at, okay, we don't do the big bang theory of we'll put everything in place and it all starts day one, because it makes it difficult for people to adopt. It makes it inflexible for you if you suddenly say, actually, our original thoughts on this aren't entirely correct, we want to change. So what you do is you phase your implementation over time. So you choose the foundation capabilities that you want to put in. So you get your documents under control, you get your CAD data under control, you make all of that data visible to the rest of the business easily, and you start controlling how you release it to the business. So these efficiency improvements would typically be your foundation. And once you've got the foundation in place, you can then start to push out further capabilities to embrace other parts of your business. So you can start using, in this example, collaboration tools to start bringing in third-party design teams maybe. You can start using change management to control change of your files in an effective, controlled manner. Now you can start complementing your mechanical CAD, in this case, with your electrical CAD. And you build your roadmap over a period of time to say, how do I get from where I am now to where I want to be? So and you have to remember, only adopt what brings value to the business. So PDM, PLM is a very big area, does many, many things, but you as a business will probably only want a fairly small percentage of them. You may only want 25, 30%. So they're the ones you adopt. You build the toolkit to suit you. So where we position ourselves is that we partner with our existing customer base, and a customer base we're enjoying growing right now, but we partner with you to help you identify where are we now, document that process, identify where improvement could be achieved based on our experience, industry metrics, best practice, and also as part of that, establish measures. What can we do to prove we're going to get value out of our PDM system? And once we've got that in place, so we can prove or identify there is value in doing certain PDM adoption within your business, then we'll work side by side with you to help you adopt that. So we assist or do all of the implementation on your behalf. We'll train the users up to get them working with the system to the best of their ability, using it correctly, using it consistently. We'll mentor them once they go live on the system. So when they start using it for the first few days, someone's there to work with them and help them. And ultimately, once it has gone to the point they're using it on a day-to-day basis. You take on new users, you try something different. Things may not work the way you expect. You may not fully understand some new element of the system moved in. So we provide ongoing support to help you grow going forward in time. So that's where we stand. That's where we like to work with our partners in business, our clients. So that's the end